Hello everybody, I am Crystal Clear 101. Welcome back to my channel. We have a Transformers toy review, and today I'm reviewing the Transformers Legends LG-14 Ultra Magnus. Now, this is the Takara Tomy version of the Combiner Wars Leader Class Ultra Magnus. Now, he was released in late 2015. He's a general release over in Japan, and you can pick up this figure yourself on Big Bad Toy Store for $69.99. Now, let's go ahead and look over the packaging for this figure. Now, first off, in the top right-hand corner of the box, we have the Takara Tomy logo, as well as the Transformers logo along the left-hand side of the packaging. And along the bottom of the packaging, from left to right, we have the Transformers 30th Anniversary logo in the very bottom left corner, the Transformers Legends logo in the center, both in Japanese and in English. And along the right-hand side of the box, we have a shot of Ultra Magnus in his car carrier mode, along with Alpha Trion instead of Minimus Ambus. It states car carrier to robot, LG-14. It has the name of the character in both Japanese and English. And along the left-hand side of the packaging, we have the Transformers Legends logo at the very top of the packaging, the Transformers logo on the right, LG-14 and the name of the character in Japanese at the very bottom, along with some very cool Japanese artwork of Ultra Magnus with Alpha Trion. And along the reverse side of the packaging, we have a shot of Ultra Magnus in his robot mode in the very top right-hand corner of the packaging, as well as showing his vehicle mode, in this case a car carrier, and states that he switches back and forth from robot to vehicle, as well as Alpha Trion, both in his robot and vehicle modes, and also shows some of the special features that the figure itself can do, as well as a description of the character itself. If you want to pause that and read that, go right ahead. And along the bottom of the packaging, from left to right, it does advertise it does come with a comic, or a manga in this case. It also advertises for a Twitter page, and it also advertises for the Takara website. And along the right-hand side of the packaging, we get a top-down view of Ultra Magnus in his vehicle mode, with the Transformers Legends logo at the very top, an Autobot emblem in the middle, and can't make it out from my camera, but it does have the name of the character and LG-14 at the very bottom. Now on the very top of the packaging, we have a shot of Ultra Magnus on the left, with Alpha Trion on the right, the Takara Tomy logo in the top right corner, the Transformers Legends logo dead center, along with LG-14 and the name of the character in the very center underneath Transformers Legends. And now with the packaging for the Transformers Legends Ultra Magnus shown, let's go ahead and open them up and let's see just how cool this particular version really is. Now before we look at the figure, let's take a very quick look at the instruction manual for it. First off, here's the front of the cover, which does feature the artwork for Ultra Magnus, Alpha Trion. We have the Transformers Legends logo, again Japanese and English, Transformers logo in English, LG-14, name of the character in both Japanese and English, saying that he's an Autobot, showing he's an Autobot. Now on the reverse side, we do see the robot mode, the vehicle mode. Here is his Japanese tech spec. Luckily it has this portion broken down in English. We also have Alpha Trion right here. Now I think this is very neat. Now also, with this being the front of the cover, of course, it opens up, like so, and inside is a little manga, which I think is absolutely neat. Now, of course, starts off, you read it top right to bottom left. Let's see, we have both versions of Megatron, along with the little Beast Wars Megatron. Alpha Trion in disguise, calling in Ultra Magnus. Magnus comes in, basically blows the crap out of both Megatrons. He forms his hammer, which I think is neat. And then it ends with showing these three fembots. LG's 15, 16, and 17, I believe. Basically, the next figure's right after Ultra Magnus. But the fact they actually include a little manga, the fact it gives a little story, I think is neat. Too bad for me, this is the first one I'm getting into. And of course, you open it up. It's your basic Japanese the fact that it's actually Transformers instructions in Japanese, I think is absolutely neat. It still shows all the pictures of what to do and all that. But I figured I'd go ahead and go over the instruction manual first, because I think that is just absolutely neat to get. And now, as far as the figure itself is concerned, let's go ahead and get a better look at him. First off, let's go ahead and give a 360-degree of the figure itself. Now, as you heard me in the previous video, right before this one, I actually like the Combiner Wars version of this figure. Now, usually the Takara is generally the better of the two for simple fact they generally have better paint apps, and overall they're just presented better. Now, considering I have this one in hand, I can actually do little side-by-side comparisons to the Hasbro version. Speaking of which, we'll go ahead and move them to the side. And let's go ahead and bring in the Combiner Wars version. Now, as we can see, there is a world of difference here. But what are all the differences we can find? Well, let's go ahead and go over them one by one. Now, let's go ahead and start off with the shoulder polerons, these right here. Now, the next sequences after this, you will see will be the Takara on the left and the Hasbro on the right. Now, the first and obvious difference is on the Takara, we actually have this little bit added paint decal, well, not decal, paint apps right here, along with the triangle and the various squares, whereas the Hasbro version is left plain Jane white. Now, as far as the head is concerned, the head is exactly the same. However, the primary differences are in the paint apps. Namely, his antennas are painted in white. The very inside of his, well, I don't know what you call it, is this crest right here. That part in there is painted silver. Also, if you look at his visor right there, it's actually a lighter shade of blue. And also, the helmet is also more of a pure blue, like a dark blue. Whereas the Hasbro version right here has the silver antennas. The inside of the crest is not painted. And also, the visor is actually also a lighter, well, I wouldn't say lighter, but yeah, it's a much lighter shade of color than the Takara version. Also, before I forget, the overall color of the helmet itself, I would say it's more of a teal. It's a lighter shade of blue than on the Takara. Next, I'll be covering the chest and the shoulder pieces. First off, overall, all the blue, the main blue is on the Takara version right here, is a dark blue. It's more of a pure blue. Now, first off, the Autobot emblem on the Takara is on both shoulder pieces. Also, these pieces right here are also painted flat out silver. The red on this is also more of a pure red. Also, not only is this little piece right through here blue, if you look at the headlight pieces right here, it's closer to more of a amber color, I guess you could call it, but it's a darker shade of yellow. Now, whereas the Hasbro version, it has a much lighter shade of blue. Matter of fact, the blue throughout the body of the figure is the same as on the helmet. It's not a true blue. It might look it on my camera, but trust me, it's a lighter shade of blue. It's noticeable between this and the Takara version. Also, on the Hasbro version, it's only these pieces right here that are painted silver. The rest of it is blue. The Autobot emblem is right here on the chest piece. Before I do forget, these pieces along the side base of the chest piece right here are white. And also these little, I guess, headlight pieces you could call it, are more of a pure yellow. Another thing I will go ahead and point out is that these pieces right along through here are red, whereas on the Takara version, they're actually blue. I forgot to point that out on the last little section. Now, the missile pods on the Takara version, This is a flat out solid white. This is like a pure white, like a bone white. And the red for the missiles is actually like a pure red. Whereas the Hasbro version, it is still a pretty good white, but it's not pure white like on the Takara. And also the red on the missiles right here is a little bit lighter. It may not look it, but visually it is enough of a difference to distinguish. That's where we're coming to what is obviously the most distinguishable part about this figure, which is the legs right here are red. This portion right here of the crotch piece right here is blue. Whereas the Hasbro version, this entire section all through here is solid white. Now we look along the knees to the shins. First off, these pieces right through here are blue. Inside these little slots right here, there's actual yellow paint apps. Also, the very top of this piece right here, there is added blue details. Whereas the Hasbro version, these sections right through here are white. Right through here, there are no added paint apps. The two little rectangles that are right here are white. Basically, there's virtually no added paint apps right through here on the Hasbro version. Now, as far as the very bottom of the feet are concerned, on the Takara, there is this added little bit of paint detail right in through here, showing the more metallic portions of his feet, like the exposed pistons and stuff. But anyway, there's added paint details right through there for his feet. Whereas here on the Hasbro version, none of this right through here is painted. Matter of fact, the feet, this very portion of his foot right here, is all one solid piece. Another difference I will go ahead and point out is that this hinge that is right back here, this is white, whereas the Takara version is actually red. Now, we're going to take a look at the back side of the Takara version. Now, these little pieces that form the back of his leg, which also form the very side of his trailer, these are blue with a little bit of red right here along the center. Whereas right here on the Hasbro version, these pieces right here are just flat out straight up red. Now, another really big difference right through here, this is probably going to make it or break it for some people, but the very center of the wheels right here, the actual wheels themselves, these are actually painted silver. Also, the connection piece to hold the cab to the trailer itself right here is red. Whereas here on the Hasbro version, the tires and the wheels are one solid color. There's no added paint apps to distinguish between the wheel and the tires. Also, the connection piece to hold the cab to the trailer itself is one solid color. Also, if you notice, this portion right through here is red, whereas on the Takara version, it's actually blue. Another thing I will go ahead and point out, which is this hinge right here that holds the head, which is part of how the head goes into the cab for transformation. This piece right here is red, whereas the very same piece here on the Hasbro version is white. Now, I think the last thing I will point out on as far as the actual Ultra Magnus figures themselves are concerned, is that the handheld weapons for the Takara version are white, whereas the Hasbro versions of the same weapons are black. And now, as far as the two little minifigures that come with them, first off, we have Alpha Trion, who comes with the Takara Ultra Magnus on the left, and Minimus Ambus, who comes with the Hasbro Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. Now, as far as my personal opinion goes, I think that the paint job is done very effectively on the Alpha Trion. Now, as far as the actual paint apps are concerned, this pulls off Alpha Trion really well. This pulls off the character very well. Whereas with Minimus Ambus, yeah, I can make out, what's supposed to be the mustache, what's supposed to be beard. But considering I'm not really familiar with the character, it makes me wonder what he's supposed to look like. But with this, I can tell who this is supposed to be. This, it just makes me think it's just a random little bot that goes with Ultra Magnus. Now, as far as the details are concerned in the vehicle modes, I'll go ahead and transform both real quick. There's Alpha Trion. Now, if you want me to give you my personal opinion between the two figures, I'll give in just a second. But as far as the paint, well, not paint, but just the overall details between the two vehicles, I think the Alpha Trion actually pulls it off better than the Minimus Ambus. Also, with the little Alpha Trion, I don't have as much of a hard time transforming this figure or getting him to stand as I do with the Minimus Ambus. To me, this feels like it's a slightly better overall build than this one right here. That's just my personal opinion. Now, as far as all the differences between these two figures are concerned, I figured I'd go ahead and point out what the main thing that they're going for here is. Now, with the Hasbro right here, the main thing that they're going for is they're going for the IDW, the Combiner Wars well, I wouldn't say Combiner Wars, but the IDW version of Ultra Magnus. That is what the Hasbro version goes for. And for that, I think it succeeds. Now, as far as the Takara version, don't worry, Ultra Magnus didn't fall. But as far as the Takara version, what they're going for, aesthetic-wise, looks-wise, is the look of the original toy from the 80s. Yes, this is supposed to be decoed up like the original Ultra Magnus from 1985, 1986. But this is going for more of the G1 accurate color scheme, which this pulls off spectacularly. Now, this overall is very eye-pleasing. This is very eye-catching. And for me, this right here is just straight up eye candy. That is what this figure is. Now, as far as how the figure looks in vehicle mode, and now here's the vehicle mode for the Takara Ultra Magnus. Now, again, this is supposed to be more based on the original figure from the 80s. And as far as the way it pulls it off, I think it pulls it off spectacularly. Matter of fact, I find this actually more eye-catching than the Hasbro version. As you can see with the, a car carrier on a car carrier. Now, as you can see, there is a world of difference right here. Here's the Takara, here is the Hasbro. As you can see, there's a lot more blue on the Takara, a lot more red on the Hasbro. Also, the blue on this is a pure blue. Matter of fact, right here, you can actually see the difference between the two blues right here. Now, also, if we look into the flatbed itself, let me remove Alpha Trion. As we can see, we have red mixed with white. Also, blue. Whereas the Hasbro version, solid white, red. As far as the back end of the trailers are concerned, but there is a world of difference between the Hasbro and the Takara. Also, another difference that can be pointed out, the very top of the tabs themselves, the connection piece for the head on the Hasbro, the Takara is red. On the Hasbro, it's solid white. So for me, this blends in a little bit better than the Takara as far as hiding the head goes. But overall, I like the colors, the aesthetics, honestly, of the Takara version right here. So for me, this really pulls off the look of the original figure, the original toy from the 80s. And honestly, of the various Transformer figures I remember having as a child, the one I enjoyed the most, honestly, was Ultra Magnus. The only Optimus I ever had was the Power Master. And for me, this was just one of those figures I absolutely had the most fun with, was Ultra Magnus. And now to have, not only, I guess you'd say, a modern update of that original figure, but to have him in his original Generation 1 color scheme, this is just, I don't know the best words I can describe this with, but this is flat out eye-catching. This is nothing but pure eye candy for me. I mean, I am really pleased with how Takara has came out with this figure. Well, overall, what are my personal thoughts on the Takara LG-14 Ultra Magnus? Well, considering what I said about the Combiner Wars in the previous video, I'll go ahead and tell you, I absolutely love this particular version of Ultra Magnus. The fact they chose to go with the paint scheme of the original Generation 1 figure, for me, just makes this even more eye candy. This is even more eye-catching for me than the Combiner Wars version. And I love the Combiner Wars version, but the fact this is colored up just like the original Generation 1 toy, for me, it is hard to look away at this figure. It really is. I have nothing but really good things to say about this. Now, if I was to give any kind of true negatives about this figure, it's the simple fact that, number one, this will be harder to find than the Hasbro version. And number two, this will be more expensive than the Hasbro version. But those are really my only true negatives I really have about the figure. Other than that, the paint scheme, the added paint apps that are on this figure, plus the fact that the minifigure is Alpha Trion, for me just makes this just so much better, so much more appealing. So if you don't mind shelling out the $70 that this retails for in Big Bad Toy Store, then I highly recommend you don't get this version of Ultra Magnus. For me, I just like the way this figure is done up so much better. I really do. And I like the Combiner Wars version, but for me, this one just blows it out of the water. But that'll wrap up my review on the Transformers Legends LG-14 Ultra Magnus. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.